Oh hey, didn't see you there. Welcome to Rad Time Customs. This car has been suffering from rough idle. Sometimes rough idle is caused by a bad ICV. What's an ICV? This is an ICV. ICV is the idle control valve. What this does is when your car is sitting at idle, it allows the car to keep running and not die by opening the throttle body plate just enough that it maintains its idle. We're also going to replace the hose that goes from the ICV to the intake plenum. Both of these are located under the intake plenum. That's your ICV, and there's the hose that runs to the plenum. All right, in order to make more room, the first thing I'm going to do is remove the oil filter cover and the oil filter. That'll give me more room to stick my arm underneath the intake manifold. The top of the hose is located right behind your throttle body on your intake. It's just going to reach your arm in like so, pop it out, kind of move it out of the way, and then you can disconnect it from the top of the ICV. It just pops right on. There's no clamps. You'll just have the small hose to disconnect right there. You just simply pull the plug off of your vacuum hose, pop it onto the new one. Just like that. Alright, so there's the plug for the ICV. You're simply just going to put your finger under the bottom of it. You're going to push the bottom of a clip and it just pulls right off. There's your ICV plug. Now your ICV sits inside this little sleeve. So what you're going to do is take from the plug and push towards the back of the engine, and that'll slide it out of that sleeve. The easiest way to get it all out of there is disconnect this hose that goes into your air intake and pull it on out along with the ICV right out of the front of the intake manifold. Okay, so you'll see the difference here between the two. The plugs are the same. These inlets are a little bit different. So this is the one that would have gone to that air intake. This would be the one that goes into the intake manifold itself. So as long as you have that arrow going the right direction, what you're now going to want to do is put a clamp on this hose and a clamp on that hose as well. Nothing. Since we're going to replace some of the other hoses that are just old, we're going to go ahead and take the air intake boot off, which will give us access to our hose that goes in here. And this one is already disconnected because this went in with your ICV hose. So we'll replace this guy and that guy. We can also take a look at any other hoses that are connecting underneath this boot as well. For instance, this one was ripped, broken, and then electrical tape was applied on it for some reason to probably try to help seal it. So we're going to go ahead and pull this hose and we'll get a replacement one of these as well. The second hose down here is the one that goes up into this area that goes into your PCV. So we're going to replace that one as well because it's really spongy from oil. Okay, so the issue that I had with this hose is that the old style one, the factory one, that size hose would not go onto this ICV. This one had a bigger size outlet in here. So what I had to do was take a hose that was this size, it runs this way like this, I cut it, and then I slid this size that originally would have been the right size. This one goes all the way up and around to about here. And then I just clamped it here, and then my plastic plug will go back into this so I can go back into the air intake. The other thing I did is I replaced this hose here. This is the one that goes underneath the intake, and it comes out from the bottom, and it'll plug back into your air boot. This guy here we replaced. This is the one that goes onto this port on the plug that goes into the intake manifold. So this guy will just go like that as soon as we get this back into place. Okay, the best way to go and put the ICV back in is to put the lower hose, connect it, the one that goes to your air intake, and then I just reach underneath the intake plenum and I push it back up into place. Once it's back into place, then I just take the hose and I run it up back under, get it ready, and then I can pop the hose that goes up in here to the intake back in. This one, because the way this ICV was designed, I have to clamp both sides. So in order to do that, I had to push it through here. So you're not going to have to deal with that. But I pushed it through here, got the hose routed where it needed to go, and then just snapped it into place up here into the back of the intake. And then this lower hose is just sitting down here waiting to go with the plastic plug back into the air intake. This one goes in here to your PCV. This goes in routes underneath here, like so. And this one goes into the bottom of your air intake. This one here we replaced because it was collapsing. This is the one that goes into the plug that goes into the back of the intake manifold back here. So you just reach on in, find the plug, just push that one on there, and there. Now that one's done. So we've got, this is the line that came off of here. So this one's going to go into your air intake right there. Then we've got the one that comes from the bottom of the ICV goes into this plastic joint. And that goes in to this one here. This is going to take a little bit of finagling to get it all back together and then just pop them in after you're done. Okay, so now that these are plugged back into place, that can sit right on there. We can take our MAF, get that back into place, clamp here, plug the MAF back in, and then we just tighten our screws for our air intake, and that part's done. Drop your oil filter back on with your lid. Tighten that up. Now we'll fire it up. Hot tip, don't forget to plug it in. It idles.